I'm Micah Khan. I'm a filmmaker who's collaborating with MovieMaker magazine on a series on directing and visual storytelling. You can check out some of my videos on Knives Out and Pride and Prejudice. I wanted to talk to Spike Lee about the amazing visuals of his new film on Netflix, Da 5 Bloods, and the decisions I assumed he made. But what he told me is sometimes movie making isn't about plotting everything out so much as accepting gifts. Gifts you only get when you're ready to accept them. So here's my conversation with Spike Lee where we talk about rules, how to break them, blessings, and happenstance.
So this series I'm doing is really about intent behind shots, right? Like the decisions that go into directing. So I want to start with your use of color in lighting, production design, and costume. I kind of made assumptions, but I would love to hear what you were trying to do with
Oh, don't use that word.
what assumptions.
Oh, tell my students, my NYU grad film students, they should take that word out of their
I
vocabulary.
analyzed your film and I came to this
I
conclusion.
assume you're gonna bring the camera. I assume you're gonna bring the film.
So here's what I analyzed and what I thought. That green was the unresolved or the past because you really bring in green in that dinner scene with the Bloods when that kid walks in with the leg. So I started to really take the color green as the past or something unresolved. The red obviously like for the Bloods brotherhood, and then yellow as the future or moving forward. Like I would love to hear your thoughts on like what you were trying to do with your color design.
No disrespect to what you just said, but that was not in my intention. But again,
Great,
that's what you said is valid. What you said is valid in your mind when you saw the film, but that necessarily wasn't what we were doing.
great, yeah.
And I also like to state that anytime you're talking about the look of a film, it's
Mhm,
not the director, it's not just me. It was Tom Siegel,
mhm.
the cinematographer, Wynn Thomas, production designer, and Donna Berwick. All my films, we sit down and we discuss at length what the look of the film should be.
When you guys were talking, did you come to the conclusion of using these colors this way, or like not at all, just having fun with it?
No, we felt was appropriate, but it wasn't as it wasn't as regimented
Hmm.
as you said. I mean, we're shooting in a large part of the film was shot in the jungles of Thailand.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, you got
green.
green. It's green. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I assumed because it was like the jungle. You know, it's like
Oh, use that word again.
sorry.
But again, I like to state that what you interpreted is your ideal, so it doesn't invalidate what you said.
Hmm.
I want to make that clear.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of stuff that I really want to hear. Like, and I think that
Ah,
a
that,
lot of people on the no budget, like where I am as a
yeah,
filmmaker, need to know these kind of things. Like, you know, especially what you just said is like, this is what I tell people all the time is like, it's a collaboration. You have to be communicating with people. It's not,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, the director has to decide like, this is what we're gonna do. I like this idea. Let's go with that. You know, and
Yes,
so
the director should be the conductor. We all got to be reading from the same piece of music. Ah,
yeah,
you like that one, huh?
I did. I love that, man. I'm gonna
See,
quote that after I'm done
see,
here.
and on this film, in my films, I'm the conductor, so I'm Leonard Bernstein. Bernstein,
Yeah.
Leonard Bernstein. And, the flute section, the horn section, percussion, woodwinds, we got to be reading the same music.
That's an amazing way of putting it. So let's talk about Paul's monologue, which I really loved. And this is something you've done before in like 25th Hour and like Do the Right Thing. How do you go about deciding that you want to play something to the camera? Like where like cuz this script came to you, right?
Right. I never was hesitant to break the fourth wall. I mean, I would tell my students, even today, and when you grad film, that be leery of people tell you about these rules, cinema rules, things you can't do. Be very leery of that stuff. So if you are dedicated to your craft and you study cinema day in, day out, you will come to to thinking that really are no rules, that what works for somebody might not work for somebody else, or those particular films. So I learned very early on that rules, don't get too crazy. I did not want to put artistic handcuffs on myself because of so-called rules.
What were like what lens did you end up choosing like to film it on, and like why did you decide that lens?
Well, the lens is a very particular thing that the director has to have with the
Mm-hmm.
DP. And for the most time, the lens that my DPs put up on the camera, I agree with. I'm looking at the monitor, and if there are slight things, I'm going to say, wider or tighter, but it's not a big thing. I've never had a problem with like a big discussion about the lens while we're shooting. We work that stuff. A lot of the problems that arise that show the ugly heads on the set happen because shit wasn't worked on or discussed in motherfucking pre-production. You gotta nip that shit in the bud. When you're in the middle of a shoot, you can't stop the shoot, especially on the clock, to have some motherfucking philosophical discussion, and the whole crew is watching you. That stuff has to be worked out in pre-production. It's a lifesaver.
How did you go about like designing the shot for that monologue?
Well, first, I understood that his character is a tortured human being. He's been through a lot. His mind is not right. And sometimes when your mind is not right, you talk out loud to yourself. In this case, we always felt that when he was talking to camera, he's talking to the audience directly.
I also got to bring up like when Paul sees Norman, right? That shot where like he right at the end of his monologue, he sees Norman. I don't know if this is intentional, and I'm not going to say the other A word, but you shot it with a gold light with fog in the background. Was that intentional?
Oh, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. There was slight smoke machine,
Mm-hmm.
but that golden what'd you say, a gold light?
Yeah, like a golden halo around him,
You know,
like a backlight.
brother, that was God's heavenly light shining down on our brother
I know.
Osman. That was God's heavenly glow coming down from the heavens on Chadwick.
That's one of
That
the
was,
best shots I've
he
ever
had a little
seen.
bit of fill light, but the fill light was on Delroy. Paul has his monologue into the camera saying, God woke his black ass up. He continues. Then we see Paul's eyes move like he sees something. The camera leaves Paul, goes up in the sky through the leaves, and it comes down, descend. Let me use the word. It descends upon Chadwick in almost like this Greek statue pose. I want you to understand this. That was God's light.
So it was God's intent.
Yes, God was giving a blessing on Chadwick and to that scene.
And that's amazing, man.
That
Like
glow,
that whole
that was
shot.
not lit. That golden glow you talk about was from the heavens.
When you pan to Norman or Chadwick, the leaves are green, but when you come back, they start to wilt, or they start to turn orange, yellowish. And there's one like tiny frame of a wilted leaf in Norman's frame. Is that something you like that you were foreshadowing, like what's going to happen literally right after he's digging his own grave, or is it just like symbolism for life and death?
My brother, that was Mother Nature. We had nothing to do with those leaves.
Really, even the red and red and yellow ones?
It's God's light. Leaves have different shades and colors, and we had nothing to do with that. That was not, we did not cheat in the DI. That was from above.
That's amazing, man. That's kind of threw all my questions out. This is my problem. I came in here assuming.
But here's the thing, though. When you get gifts like that,
Hmm.
when you're blessed like that, I don't question it. There's greater stuff than us. There's
Yeah.
greater things than human beings. I don't care if you're religious or not. I'm not necessarily religious, but I think I'm a very spiritual person. And when I receive gifts like that, I'm
Take
like,
'em.
and God blessed us on that scene. And here's the thing. In that scene, our late brother, Chadwick Boseman, he's playing a ghost in that scene. He's come back to forgive Paul for accidentally killing him in an act of friendly fire. That the fact that Paul's character did that has been a burden on him from that very moment, even though it was 40 years later. And Chadwick's character, Stormy Norman, is coming back to saying, I forgive you. You got me good, but I forgive you. Here's a key thing. And I haven't told this to anybody. While we were getting ready to set up, I whispered in Chadwick's ear, I want you to say, God is love and love is God. That was not scripted. I've never, and you're getting a treat right there.
I love it. I'm learning so much more about
I
you, man. I
never
love that you embrace these little like happenstances
got
and
to.
just yeah.
And also, want to know, I never said this ever till just now. The cameras were rolling, and before I said action, and this is a shot where we're shooting over Chadwick's shoulder, and the camera's on Delroy's face. I just said, I whispered, God is love. Love is God. And the way he delivered that was a very, also, that was Chadwick's first day.
First day.
That was his first scene. He came later.
Yeah.
We were 6 weeks into the shoot already. That was his first, I mean, he had been already for like a week for boot camp. But in front of the camera, that was our brother's first day.
Is there any advice that you would give no-budget filmmakers to be more embracing of like these happenstances or like these happy accidents that happen on set, or just to be better prepared?
Now, everything I've said is my own opinion, so I just want to state that. I think that these things I've been talking about, these gifts, these blessings, only happen when you've done your homework, when you're prepared. If you're out there fucking around, don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're not gonna get blessed. The magical moments aren't gonna happen. But when you do your homework, when you roll up your sleeves and you're ready to do work and you're doing this because you love it and you feel this is your motherfucking calling to be a motherfucking filmmaker, that's when you get blessed. But if you're fucking around, half-stepping, you ain't gonna get that blessing. Word is bond on that. That's a fact. Oh, and also, I know we're doing this for a movie, for the magazine, but as a young filmmaker, I hope that you took what I said to heart and apply it in your next endeavor.
Oh, you literally took my last lines to my video series. I appreciate you.
And I'm looking out for you, man. I'm a tenured professor in NYU grad film school, so I love to teach.
I love to learn.
I've been at NYU 17 years. Chloe, she's one of my students. No Man's Land. Shaka King. Judas and the Black Messiah, one of my students. So, I want to say, I wasn't their only teacher. I'm not the only teacher, but I still feel proud about what they've done. And also, they're in the Oscar race. So, I come from a long line of educators. So
I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
pleasure.
and I think everybody who's listening to my series really wants to learn more as much as they can about filmmaking.
You got to.
And
My man. Now, what word are we taking out of vocabulary?
Assume. Get rid of it.
No, you can't say it.
I'm sorry. I won't say it
Peace
ever
and love.
again. I promise.
Yeah,
Thank you.